Thousands of people.
Fine, then you do it.
No, you do it. Just
No,
be
you do
energetic. Hey everyone, welcome to the Deeper Into the Woods podcast. I'm Ryan Spiker. This is my wife, Kelly Spiker. We today are talking about work-life balance. And
So fun.
I have a special little dance. This is the
Okay.
work-life balance dance. I don't know. You want to do it with me? Come on, work-life balance dance.
No. You're the dancer.
And
You're the
I
dancer.
feel like I'm just out here by myself.
You are.
Work-life balance. So obviously, there's a lot we could talk about within this category and sort of topic, but I have some ideas, and we haven't really talked about this yet, but so this is going to be a real candid conversation about work-life balance. We're married, we have 2 kids at home, soon to have a dog at home, and we each have careers. Obviously, we work probably more than full-time, shuttle our kids to sports and school and all that kind of stuff.
And always take on other random projects.
That's probably more me.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff that we're interested in, whatever that is. So let's just talk about that. Let's talk about. I think you're probably better at this than even I am. But talking about how do you balance the different sort of compartments of your life.
And it's really so different for everyone. Everyone's in a different situation, a different life phase, different age groups. Some people have kids, some people don't. Some people have a spouse, some people don't. Some people have pets. Like, it's just all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And I think that earlier on, at least in my life when I was younger, I just kind of thought like I just had to do everything. Like, it wasn't really my choice. Like, I was like, oh, I just have to keep up with everything. There's all these demands on me all the time, and I need to make sure I'm doing all of these things and like being perfect at them.
Where did that come from?
Just my own, like putting the pressure on myself to be a certain way or perform at a certain level.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people do. It's like a outside pressures, but when you really like boil it down, start asking yourself the question of like, why do I feel like I have to do all of these things? You really then realize, oh wait, it's not other people putting these pressures on me, it's myself putting the pressure on me.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes though you kind of like blame it on other people or like the job, like, oh, well, that's the job is demanding this of me. But I'd say that most of the time, I mean, in everyone's situation, like that's in your own hands. Like your life is in your hands, and what you choose to spend your time on and do is in your hands. So something I'd feel like I've learned over time is like how to be in almost the right mindset about it. And that really starts with your mindset. Like, what's your mindset on your job and your life? And are you stressed out and feel all this pressure? Or do you feel like you love what you're doing and you just want to pour more out and you have all this energy to do these things in your life? So it's like, if you have the energy and you love what you're doing, great, do more of it.
Yeah.
But if you don't, it's time to kind of ask yourself those kind of tough questions. Like, why do you feel, overly stressed out? Or why do you feel so much pressure in your life? Is that you putting that pressure on yourself, or is it someone else, and what needs to change? But the realization for me was, oh, this is in my hands. Like, this is my life. Everyone else doesn't get to control what I do and how much I take on and the demands that are on me. Like, I actually get to choose how much I'm pouring into each area of my life. And that changes so much over time. What works right now in this season of life could be completely different even a year from now.
Yeah.
And I think that also just ebbing and flowing with life is important. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's crazy busy weeks and you just do that and you power through it, but then that next week you can take a little break. Yeah. And just really riding the waves of life and not expecting it to be a certain way, because it's going to change.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think as you kind of mature in yourself, or at least from my perspective, as I have matured and dove into my personality traits, my own kind of mental and emotional, physical capacities, that has given me a lot more of a perspective on what I can and can't do in a given week or a month, whatever. And I think for anyone listening, I mean, I think there is so much power in sort of unlocking and discovering who you actually are, not even who you want to be,
right?
Because those might even be two different things. Like for me, that's something that I struggle with and I battle is, man, I really want to be this. I really want to be this high achieving person, but in reality, I am actually way more reserved, introverted. I need a lot of alone time. I need separation from chaos.
Right.
And I need to just sort of heal a lot of the time, like restore my energy. And learning that, but wanting something different is really hard, and there's a tension in there. And I still do that. You know, I want to go, but at some point I have to come to the realization that actually isn't me. I have to find the balance of those things.
Yeah.
And so
discovering who you are is really important, and what you need, what your strengths are, what you need to be recharged, all of those things are so important. Yeah. And then giving yourself permission to just be yourself.
Right.
I think that's something else for me too. Like it took me a long time to give myself permission to do what I need to do to care for myself even, right? To say, oh, it's okay to take time off. Like who's putting that pressure on me to not do that, right? I'm putting that on myself to say, oh, I can't take a day off, or I need to keep working. I have to be there for everybody all the time. I need to be available 24/7. Well, is that actually an expectation they're putting on me, or is that an expectation I've put on myself? And then everyone
probably
just knows.
Blame them for it.
It's it. But yeah, you blame them for it, right? Most of us do that. But giving yourself permission to relax, to take time off, to care for your body and your brain is so important. Yeah. Because then you can actually be the best you can be.
The best version of you, who you're meant to be.
And then you're actually doing so much more good because you're able to give to other people, your time and your energy, you're able to perform at a high level. But if you're always just running, going, you're going to end up being like half of what you could be in a sense for everybody around you, which is not a healthy place to be.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to burn out, right? You're going to get to the point where you just can't take it anymore. And then we know that all sorts of issues happen there with, I mean, even physical issues can happen if you're just going at too high of a pace for too long and not taking a break.
Carrying stress.
It really starts taking a toll on your body and really your relationships, because most of the time you get kind of, tense and anxious and all of those things.
Yep. Yeah, and so, I mean, really when you kind of break it down and you think about what work-life balance is, it's a little bit of like an oxymoron, because there's really no, like, at least in my opinion, there's no balance in it. Like, you're not gonna like level everything out and make it all neutral.
Right.
It's like you said, it's pushing and pulling, and it's like this constant sort of ebb and flow of pouring into something, and then taking a step back from it, pouring in, taking a step back, and it's like you only have a limited amount of resource. So if you're pouring into one thing, something else is going to sacrifice.
Exactly.
For a time.
Right.
And so I think that is also something that I have come to realize. Like, I can't do it all. If I'm choosing something, I am almost intentionally saying, I'm going to choose this thing over this for a moment, or for a week or a couple weeks or whatever, because this needs my attention right now. Once that is sort of stable, or whatever the situation is, then I can go back, and whatever it is, be with family. Or so it's a tough thing to think about balance as keeping everything, all the plates spinning. That's not
really
it's
it's always evaluating. It's evaluating what needs to take top priority and prioritizing in the right way for the time and what's going on in your life.
And setting that expectation for yourself and for the people in your life.
Right.
Right.
I think sometimes we get it going on sort of like a track where it's, okay, I feel really balanced right now. I feel like I've got the right flow to my life. It's all good. But but then it gets derailed by something because that's just life.
Yeah.
And we're surprised by it, right? And then we're like kind of mad, like, wait, but I was on such a good track. What happened? How come now I feel like maybe I'm too busy or I'm not getting enough time with my family or whatever it may be? But it's almost like because we had the wrong expectation, then we're really caught off guard by that.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, hey, I'm on a really good path right now. This is awesome. But I know something's probably going to come up and I'm going to have to reevaluate my priorities and I might have to shift and move my schedule around for whatever's needed right now.
Yeah.
But that's the expectation I'm going to go into this with, not the opposite of thinking it's all just going to go smooth and now I'm on this track and I'm going to stay on that path or that track.
Yeah, and so you're talking about seasons, really,
Right.
like seasons of life. You know, and that can be a week-long season or it can be a couple years of seasons. And we've been through seasons. I mean, we've been married for 15 years almost next month. And I think we've probably seen most of what we could expect to see.
Let's
in
hope.
those 15, I know, who knows what's going to happen.
Except for now we're going to get old and we're going to have like, you know, health issues to deal with and stuff. Or maybe not.
I'm just going to say not. Yeah, and so, I mean, I think we've definitely been through some trials. We've definitely been through points in our lives where we were sort of coming up against the threshold, against the like that rev limiter, and we probably both wanted that to look different, and we were sort of
Right.
pulling in our direction. Like, you are a high achieving person, and I sort of want to be that. And so, oh yeah, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, you know. But for me, that leads to like a significant burnout always if I go
Right.
too hard, too fast. And so we've had to figure that out, mostly with me, of saying like, okay, what is doable? What is manageable? Do you like, and I needed to learn how to sort of ask for that time or like put time aside for myself and to be restored. And I think, you know, everyone just has to figure out that, that flow and that their own little balance
Right.
in the greater balance.
Right, because
of
everyone's
life.
different. Everyone can handle different levels of
Yeah.
even workload, relational aspects of things, all of that. Something else we've learned is, I think, just like the space even each day, where if you take a break each day and let your mind just sort of wander and be, versus going from one thing to the next, like all the time throughout your whole day so quickly. And then, you know, you're off work and you're running around and you're meeting with someone or you're even just on your phone all the time. Like, you know, because we can always be like checking email, looking at social media, all of those things. I say most everyone in our society these days is that way. It's like everyone's running at a really fast pace and we're always inputting all this information. But I know for me, taking a break every day, even if it's like a 15-minute break, to just sit and like let your brain like almost decompress, it helps a lot. Because you kind of you can get really in that bogged down brain space when you are a high achiever and you're wanting to, you know, achieve all these things and keep a busy schedule going. So that's something that's like super easy, but I think it really helps even just, for me, it helps me feel more calm and balanced
Yeah.
to be able then to go on to the next thing. This is
What does
something
that look like for you? Like, as far as taking that 20-minute break, is that like midday? Is that, is it scheduled? Like, what does it
I've
look
done
like?
it a bunch of different ways. Scheduling, it's really the best way to do it. Yeah. I think taking
For
breaks,
you?
so even for like us here at Woods, everyone does different jobs, but like in the store being a barista, like a lot of our baristas are like, oh, I don't want to take a break. I'm fine. I'm just going to keep working. Sometimes when I take a break, I feel tired or whatever reason it is. Like sometimes it just feels easier to keep working. But if you actually take that break and like just sit somewhere, even if it's outside, that's even better. I think it just like feels like fresh air is so good for you. Just like take a break outside for like even 5-10 minutes. When you come back to work, and even for me, when I walk back into our office, my mind just feels like it's in a better place. Like I'm focused again. I can like have a conversation with someone and not feel like I'm half there. You know, like I can be fully present.
Yeah.
Because I just walked outside for 10 minutes and let my brain just kind of like take a break.
Yeah.
From thinking about whatever's going on or talking to somebody, you know, in the store, it's like we're talking to guests every minute. You know, we're talking to someone new, and like all of that input is hard. So I think taking that break time is really important no matter what job you do. But I think if you're someone that's like really talking to people a lot, it's even more important.
Yeah. And how about the rest of your day? Are you structuring your day in a specific way to get a specific result? Or I know your job is pretty kind of all consuming and all over the place in some instances, like where you just don't really know what the day is going to throw at
crazy.
you.
Mm-hmm.
But you do schedule your days. So what are you thinking about when you're doing that?
When I actually schedule my day intentionally, the difference of the feeling at the end of the day is like night and day. I know that. When I schedule a day intentionally, at the end of the day, I feel like, oh, that day was great. I accomplished stuff. I'm still feel energized. I'm going to go now, you know, do family life. I'm going to go work out. And I feel like I want to do those things. But if I just let my day like run me, which I still do after all these years, and I know these things, I still let it happen all the time.
Yeah.
I get to the end of the day and I'm just totally burnt out and totally tired and like don't really want to do anything, you know? I don't want to go make dinner. I don't want to go have to, you know, talk to the kids and help them with their homework, or I don't want to, you know, do whatever it is. So the intentional scheduling of the day, I think, is really important. And taking those breaks. If you take the breaks throughout the day, by the end of the day, you're still feeling like you can do more.
Yeah.
Where if you're just running through the day as fast as you possibly can, you do get to the end of the day and you kind of just drop.
Yeah.
Right?
You're looking for some sort of like escape at the end of the day from the...
And food is very important in this equation as well.
Yeah.
You know, nutrition and keeping your body at a really healthy place just helps all of those things so much.
Yeah.
When you're eating throughout the day, you're eating healthy food throughout the day, you have that energy, you have the emotional space to give even to everyone you're interacting with. That is huge as well. Again, hard to always do because we all are busy and it takes planning and preparation and intentionality. Mm-hmm. It's really easy to just kind of fall off that wagon again. But I think every time we both, you know, are on that track, we feel great. And there is a lot more to give when you're taking care of yourself mentally and physically.
Yeah, and just the chemical balance in your brain is like now actually balanced. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're eating really good food and you're exercising and doing all those things. It's weird, like, because now, you know, you're talking about like, I have work, I have life, but then I have health, and I have...
But it's all intertwined.
It's all mixed in there.
There's no such thing as work and life. It's life.
Yeah, it's all just life.
It's all just life.
That's what we should talk about, because as we have sort of come the full story, like from, you know, when we're first married, trying to figure things out, to now, it's like, I think that might be one of the biggest lessons we've learned is, at least for me, is you can't separate the different parts of your life as much as you think you can. Yep. Like, yeah, for me, I say that even still, you know, I have my work life and I have my home life. I have, you know, my passions, and I have, you know, the things that I'm obligated to do, you know, and trying to like separate those two things. Right. But really, we are all intertwined, and all of those things are one life that I'm living and that we're living. And so just coming to the realization that, no, this is life. Right. This isn't that life and this life. And like, but then like with me, it's like, I'm always like caught between two worlds and two different things. But if it's just life with all these different parts, it's a lot easier to understand it and to ebb and flow. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like in the early days of working in store, sometimes it'd be like, you know, someone would come to work and they're just had a bad day or whatever. And it's like, you know, it's always the thing you hear is like, oh, leave it at the door. You know, like that's your personal life. Leave it at the door. You're at work now. But it's like, you can't really do that. You know, it's all your life. And if you're affected in your day by something, you're affected in your day by something. Yeah. There's no way to just turn off your emotions or your personal life. Yeah. It's going to affect your work. So I think it's kind of cool though that, you know, if we can get to that level with each other, even in our teams at work, and say, hey, I'm having a rough day. Can you support me more today? And they can say, yeah, absolutely, like no problem.
Yeah,
You
they can
supported
give-
me more last week when I was having a rough day.
They can have grace for that.
Yeah, and just really being vulnerable with each other though, and letting each other know where you're at, even in the day or the week, so that, you know, the others people on the team can support that person that's having a rough time.
Totally.
Because it's just life. We all go through hard times. We all go through, you know, great times. We can celebrate with each other. We can, you know, mourn with each other.
Yeah.
Whatever that needs to look like.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there's also, you know, understanding that fact that your personal life and your work life are one life. So it's all going to sort of look the same as far as how you are present in the world at that moment.
Right.
There's a responsibility there then too, like especially speaking to our staff of going, okay, like I know whatever my let's say I went to a party, you know, and I have to open in the morning, like that's probably not the best decision, not the most responsible decision to make as, you know, someone who has to open the store at whatever 5 a.m.
Right, and there's expectations of what that
There's
looks like.
expectations, and yes, like there's grace on the other side of like I'm feeling tired, you know, I don't have energy right now, but it's also like, okay, well, you partied last night,
Right.
Like,
Why do you not have the energy?
yeah, let's go back to the source of it,
Right.
and not expect like grace to just flow out for like no reason. Obviously, there's some responsibility there too that has to be there, and so if you understand that party life is going to have an effect on your work life,
Right.
because it is all one life.
Yep.
You're not going to have party energy and then work energy. It's
Yep.
like you've spent it already, you know, and 2 hours of sleep the night before is not going to get you where you need to be.
Yep.
So just like that understanding of, yes, there's grace for these things because we understand that it's all one thing, but you can also do some preparation the day before, the night before, knowing that
Right.
you have to come to work. I mean,
Yep.
that's just
Some of
common sense,
our
but-
some of our most successful baristas, I've asked them about that. You know, just those people that you're like, wow, you're always ready for work. You come to work looking great. You're prepared yourself. You can just tell. You know, every time you interact with them, they have energy for you. They're executing at a high level. And I've asked some of them, like, what do you do? You know,
Yeah.
how do you do that all the time? Is that just you? You know, and it's like, no, I'm intentional with my life. I wake up extra early and make sure that I'm awake before I show up to work. I plan my clothing the night before. I lay my clothing out.
Yeah.
I have my alarm set. I double check that it's set. I set in a second alarm. Like there's all these intentional steps that they take to make sure that they're ready. And they're taking it seriously and they're taking responsibility for what they do. And I just think that's really cool and a good reminder of like, it doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be intentional about these things. And when you are, you see the results in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Like a good day doesn't just happen.
Right.
It's created.
It's chosen.
Intentionally chosen. Yeah. And so I think that's really good for our staff to hear. It's good for, I mean, just people to know.
It's a good reminder to us.
Yeah, exactly. Like I would probably more of like I'm just gonna kind of show up and see what happens today, kind of.
Yeah.
But like that never goes well.
No.
Without a plan.
Right.
You know, you have nothing to sort of feel great about. You have no accomplishment in there.
Yeah.
And so.
The other thing is it's really important to actually have that like breaks from things, like time away from your home, time away from your work. I feel like that's another thing I've learned through over years is it is really important to take breaks. It really makes you appreciate what you have and have a fresh outlook on, you know, especially from work. If you take a week off of work, when you come back, you're in a different mind space.
Yeah.
You're usually, for me, it's when I get creative again. You know, I take a week or two off work. When I come back, I feel like I have all of these great ideas. But if I stayed at work those 2 weeks, I probably would have never had those ideas.
Yeah.
Because my brain feels like it's kind of bogged down sometimes. And when you finally take the time to away from work, it frees up that creative space in your mind. And it's also just good to recharge and rejuvenate and be ready again to kind of hit the ground running. So time off is also very important. But again, it's something you have to choose for yourself. You have to intentionally say, I'm going to take time off. I'm going to schedule it out. I'm going to plan a trip, whatever it may be. And that's something that only you can do for yourself.
In the way that works for you.
Right.
because I'm sure there's just
different.
various ideals for, you know, various personality types or
Yep.
energy levels, whatever.
For sure.
Yeah, and so, you know, taking those breaks, it changes your perspective on the job that you separated yourself from for a week or whatever,
Yep.
and clears your mind. And you know, I think that's a great thing for every part of life. You know, even not only work, but yeah, in your personal life, like taking breaks from being with people, or especially people who are speaking into your life a lot, like, or having having influence on your life a lot.
Yeah.
Especially negative influences. If you're living in a house where people are negative, or you're surrounded with friends that are usually negative, separate yourself from that and think for yourself. Start to create your own ideas in your mind, and don't just adopt the negativity around you. Create your own perspective on the world and perspective on your life and your work and all that.
Yep.
Because I think so often, like, we can just be assumed in other people's
Absolutely.
opinions
Yeah.
and frustrations and just negative things.
Yeah, it can be brought down by the people around you.
Yeah, and it's so much easier to be brought down than to rise up. Rising up is difficult,
Right.
and it's always a choice. Being brought down is a natural thing that
Right.
just happens, right?
It
You don't have
does.
to try very hard to just get brought down, but you have to fight to rise above things.
Yep.
And so I think just separating yourself from all kinds of things and just giving yourself that time to think and to sort of just meditate on the things that you know to be true and that you want to accomplish, the passions that you have, and all of that. Like, that's who you are.
Yep.
Without the influence of other people and other things around you.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's sort of the journey that all of us are on, is this almost like identity crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. Permission to be yourself, knowing that your work-life balance, if that's what we want to call it, is in your control, in your hands. It's a choice you make every day for what you spend your time on, who you spend it with, how intentional you are about your life,
Yeah.
even the thoughts you think. It's all in your hands, and it's a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good conversation. And I think we could probably go on for hours, you know, just talking about the little intricacies of this. But I think that pretty much wraps up how we view work-life balance. But I think if we were to get a little bit more like personal with this, so talk about your how you view we have kids, work, we
Yep.
have responsibilities, and we have family. How do we balance that? Like, the family part is sort of the thing that could in our context,
Yeah.
in our specific situation, two parents who are working, which is actually pretty common. How are we making sure that our kids aren't just being left with
Yeah.
a babysitter, or left, you know, like, to their own devices? But how are we intentional with them? You know?
Yeah. I think that for me, anyways, as I gotten older, it's almost easier now with them in school, because I know every day they have a school day, right? They're gone. I can't really be with them anyway. So I'm going to work, you know? I think taking them to school and picking them up is really important, and something that we've prioritized. It's like one of us takes them to school and one of us picks them up most days.
Yeah.
So we have that time with them. And because we live so far away from everything, we have a lot of time in the car together.
Yeah.
And then,
Which was a bad choice for work-life balance.
it was. But there's blessings in it as well. But yeah, I think prioritizing that and just being intentional with the time we do have together.
Yeah.
So we're saying, okay, we have this night this week that we don't have anything else going on. What are we going to do that night? We're not just going to like let it happen, right? Where it's like, oh, someone wants to go watch TV and the other one wants to go, like, everyone kind of goes their separate ways, even at home. We say, hey, let's do something together. Let's go on a bike ride together. Let's play a game together. Let's, you know, we're really intentional about having dinner together. That's another thing I think we do pretty well is we have dinner together, even if that means we all have something going on in the evening. We need to eat dinner at 5 and we need to meet somewhere and eat out. We do that. We like make that happen. And then we also intentionally have dinner at home at least, 2 or 3 nights a week where we're at home together. We have nothing else going on. We eat dinner and we have time together.
Yep.
And that can look different every time, but we try to just take those opportunities, I think is how we look at it, and be intentional with those times.
Yeah, it's crazy how the just normal life rhythms present opportunities, tons of opportunities in a day to pour into, especially your kids. Like they're bringing up the opportunities. We're not forcing it,
right?
But there's like lessons in everything they do because they're just learning,
right? But it's being intentional again with like it's just even with a mindset, an intentional mindset.
Looking for those things.
We're always looking for the opportunity. We're always trying to find ways to connect, and that's just in our minds. And so we're going after it essentially.
Yep. And one of the things, you talk about dinner. Of being intentional about having dinner together as a family. That's something that you've really spearheaded, but it's a sacred thing, where it's like this is about us being together and talking about our lives as a family. So it's like it's a no phone zone. Like, put the phones away, put the distractions away. Like we're here to have conversation and to actually have an opportunity to pour into each other's lives.
And eating dinner at home like that also, you usually end up eating a way healthier meal than if you're on the go, everyone's grabbing whatever they want to eat, or you're eating out a lot. It's also a great time to say, we're sitting down to have a meal. It's great relationally, and it's also great for your body to be actually, intentionally eating a healthy meal.
Yeah. So no family meals at McDonald's.
Yeah. No,
meal.
Ever.
It's not working. Sometimes we'll do like little dates away also, which is fun. Like I'll take Finley and we'll, have a daddy-daughter date out, where it's like we go and usually we'll eat McDonald's, something junky and, so I think those are special things too, where that's one of those removing yourself from things, right? So I'm taking one kid and you're taking the other one, and we're able to connect on a different level than like with the whole family, and I think it's really important to have individual time with each kid. Or each, like maybe you don't have kids, but maybe it's just specific friends and you always hang out in a group.
Right.
Like what about that one that you really feel like you connect with? Like one-on-one pouring into
or
each
even
other's
having
lives.
meals if you have roommates, like having meals together with roommates.
Yeah.
Same sort of a situation though, where you're just, you're having an intentional time to eat together, and there's something different that happens around like a dinner table at home than anywhere else. So it's special.
Good. Yeah, that's really good. Well, I think that pretty much sums it up, huh? Okay. Man, we are so excited and thankful that you are listening or watching with us today. I hope this was beneficial for you. I hope that you have gleaned some sort of wisdom, if you can call it wisdom, from us. Man, we'd love to know how this has affected you, or anything that you do to kind of manage your own life balance. So hit us up with that. You can email us, whatever.
It'd be cool to get more feedback. What do people do? What works for you? And continue that conversation going.
And also, we'd love it if you would rate and subscribe to this podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell, get notified when our new videos come out. That's a big deal. And your ratings and your what is that called? Your review. That's what it is. Your review goes a long way to actually, spreading the word. So we appreciate it. We are so thankful that you're here watching, and we'll see you next week. See you later.